Ballad of Big Gus, Part 2. Hey, if you haven't listened to Part 1, or maybe you kind of sort of forgot what it was about, I'll put a link in the comments. Okay, on with Part 2. They built the bridge, and the trolls came. It ought to not come as a surprise to you that trolls come from under bridges. What you might not know, though, is that it's the dang trolls that build them in the first place. First they say that the bridge is for everybody to use, and that seems like a pretty good deal, even though the Yoop really was already doing pretty good by itself before they built the bridge. But then, after they build a bridge, those dang trolls start asking for money, or they start charging tolls. I think that's maybe why they call them trolls. It's on account of the tolls. Anyhow, they say it's for taking care of the bridges, but it don't look like they're doing a very good job to me. I think maybe they're spending that money on something else. Some weirdo conspiracy theory types I know have been saying lately that they use the money for plastic surgery so they can try to look not so much like trolls. That's pretty crazy to think about, but that don't mean it's not true. Any rate, after they build a bridge, the trolls start coming to the Yoop. They really liked all the trees, but they didn't like the cold and snow too much. At first, the Yoopers welcomed the trolls, because they figured if they liked looking at the trees, but didn't stick around too long on account of the cold and snow, then that's not too big a deal. The trolls seemed a lot more interested in how many trees there were and how big they are, though. That's not to say they were so interested in their beauty. A lot of them trolls weren't really looking so much as they was counting. It turns out a lot of the trolls were figuring they could build a lot more bridges and collect a lot more tolls if they could cut down all them trees. The trolls knew that the Yoopers really liked looking at their trees though, so they had to figure out a way to trick them into wanting to get rid of them. So one of the sneakiest, craftiest trolls, named Lands, came up with an idea. He started spreading rumors that the bush light trees was what was causing all the dang mosquitoes. The mosquitoes can get pretty bad into Yoop, sometimes, but they also do a good job making sure you go inside and get some sleep after maybe you had a couple of beers. Don't you gotta work tomorrow? Damn it. Anyhow, the rumor caught on and lots of folks started saying maybe they should cut down all the bush light trees. You heard me. Can you imagine? Cut down all the bush light trees? Well, a rumor can be a pretty powerful thing, and that can get good people to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Lance knew about this, and he started paying local newspapers to print articles about how places that don't have any mosquitoes don't have any bush light trees either. Lance had a little problem on his hands though, because even though he was able to convince the Yoopers that they could get rid of those dang mosquitoes by cutting down all their bush light trees, they sure didn't want to give up their bush lights. Maybe they want to have a couple of beers, you know? So Lance called up his buddy, who was pretty good at making beer. I forget his name. I think maybe it was Bud. Anyhow, Bud said, yeah, sure, I can make that shit. And that was that, and nobody was the wiser. So the trolls came and cut down the bush light trees and started building more bridges to live under. Well, live under and collect more tolls, that is. The trolls were so happy with Lance and how good his idea worked that they decided to call that tricky little technique he used Lansing. And they named their capital city after it, which really says a lot if you think about it. And the Yoopers didn't mind a bridge too much, because that's where all their bush lights were coming from, since the trolls cut down all the bush light trees. But it sure didn't seem like the mosquitoes went anywhere. In fact, it seemed like there was just as many mosquitoes as there always was. That made a lot of the Yoopers pretty mad, and they started trying to figure out why there's still mosquitoes even though the bush light trees was all gone. That's when they found out about Lands and how he paid the newspapers to print those stories. Well, after having a sauna and maybe a couple of beers, they decided to go cross the bridge down to the land of the trolls and try to make things right. Well, hey, I hope you're enjoying this story so far. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and you should be notified when part 2 is up. Have a super day.